The bow in Monster Hunter Wilds is a very mobile ranged weapon that's capable of dishing out tons of damage via an unending hail of arrows while remaining hard to hit. Bow has one of the highest and most rewarding skill ceilings of all weapons despite being extremely easy to pick up and use. Like the longsword, much of this weapon's skill ceiling involves Dark Soulsing your enemy's moveset and using invincibility frame dodges to not only avoid damage but also to empower yourself to keep out dishing the pain. In this video, we're going to be doing a quick and clean beginner's guide of the bow for both controller and keyboard players, focusing on teaching you the bare essentials to get you out there and hunting quickly, but still teaching you enough to know what you're doing. We'll be going over mechanics, movesets, gameplay flow, essential combos, essential stamina management methods, and of course some tips and tricks from a veteran who's used the bow for almost 200 hours throughout the series. Just like my beginner's charge blade guide, I'll be showing the button combinations for each platform on screen, but for simplicity's sake, we'll be speaking the PlayStation controls. A plus sign between buttons means to push them at the same time, while the arrows between buttons means that it is the next button sequence to push. And before we get started, I'd highly suggest changing focus mode to toggle when playing bow so that you're not holding the aim button for the entire hunt. If you're playing on keyboard, you can already toggle focus mode with the Alt key. And for keyboard players, I'd highly recommend rebinding some controls so that playing bow doesn't feel so terrible. For keyboard controls, this video will be showing both defaults and my recommended controls. There's only 3 keybinds that I've changed, with the main one being swapping F and right click. Mashing right click just feels a lot better than mashing F. The other 2 binds are swapping how you select coatings and use your item bar. This keeps the item bar as how it normally is via selecting through the scroll wheel, and if we hold control we can instead scroll to select an arrow coating. It's up to you if you want to copy my settings or tweak them for your personal tastes, or tough it out with the defaults. Starting with a brief overview, pincushion the enemy through constant firing and dodging known as dash dancing to maximize your damage. This keeps us hard to hit thanks to a generous amount of invulnerability frames on each dodge that grant a lot of stamina if pulled off correctly. This pairs well with the bow since it's an extremely stamina hungry class. Supplement all this with the bow's access to a wide variety of damage enhancing or status inflicting coatings, as well as its access to a number of other powerful attacks and mobility tools, and you end up with an unstoppable powerhouse of a weapon. Next, let's get into the basic flow of combat as well as key moves you should know. Press circle 3 times for a high damage spread shot combo that fires a lot of arrows but has a slower animation. The first attack is a special quick shot attack that does a small amount of damage but doesn't cost stamina nor interrupt stamina regeneration. Quick shot can only be used at the start of a combo. The second and third attacks are slower, more powerful, but have a longer animation. Alternatively, press R2 3 times to fire a basic volley of arrows that increases in count with each successive attack. The number of arrows per attack increases due to a mechanic of the bow called a charge level. Most attacks will increase your bow's charge level, indicated by the bow glowing as well as by little dots on your crosshairs. The higher your charge level, the more arrows you will fire per shot, and each of these arrows will do more damage. You can also hold the fire button to increase your charge level. Once you fire a shot from the max charge of level 2, it'll reset back to 0. There is an exception to this though. If you dodge while aiming, you'll perform a charging sidestep, which maintains your charge level and raises it on your next attack if not already at max. This allows you to string together max charge bow shots for maximum DPS as long as you can keep dodging after a shot. This is commonly referred to as dash dancing. The catch with this is that every attack and dodge you do will use up stamina. This is where a part of bow's high skill ceiling comes into play, managing your stamina. Stamina management is a lot easier though thanks to a stamina restoring perfect dodge called the discerning dodge. Every charging sidestep dodge you do has invincibility frames at the start of the dodge, and it restores a lot of stamina if you're hit during these iframes. If you pull this off, it's indicated by a visual and audio cue and is known as a discerning dodge. Discerning dodges is just one way to manage stamina and excel as a bow player. We'll cover the other essential stamina management methods a bit later. Now that we're familiar with the bow charge level mechanic, you can better understand the bread and butter dash dancing combos that bow players do. Remember that dash dancing is simply maintaining a max bow charge level by dodging between shots. As a basic example, reach max bow charge by pushing R2 3 times or by charging a shot. Dodge to maintain your charge level and fire another R2 shot. Repeat until you're out of stamina. Feel free to mix in circle attacks as well for a slower but more powerful shot as you see fit. You can fire up to 2 circle attacks before needing to dodge to maintain your bow charge level. Now as you dash dance around, you might notice that your crosshair changes color as you move to or away from the monster. This is an indicator of your effective range, aka critical range, which is the ideal distance you should be to do full damage. If the crosshair is gray, you're either too close or too far. If the crosshair is orange, then you're good to go. Moving on, take a look at the bottom right bar. This is your trick arrow gauge. This fills as you land non-coded attacks on the monster, when you hold R2 to charge a shot, or when you pull off a discerning dodge. The trick arrow gauge is consumed by equipping arrow coatings, which gives your next 10 arrows special effects. Each bow has its own set of arrow coatings it can use, and you can slightly expand this by equipping various decorations that allow the bow to use their respective status coating. Select the coating by holding L1 and navigating with triangle and X, and equip it by just pressing triangle. Each shot will consume 1 coating. As for what the coatings do, I'll leave it to your imagination on what each status coating does. For power and close range coating, each increases your bow's raw damage by a multiplier, with close range coating increasing it by a bit more but at the cost of reduced range. Piercing coating allows shots to pierce through enemies for multiple damage procs per arrow but severely reduces damage. In a nutshell, status coatings are good but optional. Always try to have power or close range coating active, and piercing is usable but not that great. Your trick arrow gauge is also consumed whenever you use a tracer shot. Hold R2 and push square to ready a tracer arrow and fire it into the enemy. It'll stick to the target, and all shots fired for a short amount of time will home in on the tracer. The tracer will explode for some extra damage after enough time or after enough damage is done to it. Personally, I don't really recommend using tracer shot too much as it's not that great, but hey, you do you. Next, let's move on to the bow's special attacks and movesets, which it has quite a few. First, we have the new 1000 Dragons. Press R2, triangle, and circle together to ready and fire a close-range shotgun blast of arrows. It's nothing spectacular, but it's fun to do from time to time. Also new to Wilds, we have the Flying Swallow Shot. Push triangle after a dodge to jump high into the air and cross a long distance in the direction of your choice. You'll fire a volley of arrows as you land based on your charge level for some solid damage. Flying Swallow Shot is an amazing repositioning tool for distancing and chasing. I highly suggest playing around with this once you get the hang of dash dancing. Next on the list is Arc Shot. Charge an arrow, then push circle to plant yourself down in preparation of firing an arrow into the air. Release your arrow to fire a rain of arrows down on a location, which will do damage and stick fuses into the monster. These fuses supplement the bow's focus attack, which we'll talk about soon. As your arc shot charge level increases, the AoE of the shot enlarges, the rain of arrows will do more damage, and you'll stick more fuses into the monster. You'll also regain stamina as you charge an arc shot. Next, we have the iconic Dragon Piercer. Push triangle and circle to start a long animation of firing a powerful arrow. This arrow will pierce through the monster, damaging it several times, and is an alternate way to viably play bow. Just spam Dragon Piercers and watch the numbers fly. I will note there are two slightly different versions of Dragon Piercer, a faster, less damaging version that happens after an attack, and a slower but more damaging version that happens at the start of a combo. And yes, Dragon Piercer can cut tails. And finally, we have Bow's Focus Attack. From Focus Mode, hold R1 to pull up a large crosshair. You'll lock onto any monster wounds in this crosshair one at a time and will slowly increase their lock-on level to a max of 3 indicated by the little blips on each target. Upon release, you'll fire a number of homing arrows at each target based on their lock level, and if a wound was hit, you'll stagger the monster and follow up with a Dragon Piercer shot. An important note is that you'll regenerate stamina while locking onto targets. Also, if you have any fuses in the monster from an arc shot, you'll actually lock onto all available wounds and fuses at once instead of locking on one by one. With all the moves out of the way, I'll finally get into key ways to help manage your stamina as a bow player. Stamina doesn't start regenerating on bow until you've completely stopped your combo, so knowing how to incorporate moves that innately restore stamina is key to excelling as a bow player. The best way by far is to just consistently land discerning dodges, as a well-timed dodge can completely refill your stamina. However, for the more realistic players, we can additionally use these options. Simply loading your coatings will stop your combo and start regenerating your stamina. Adding on to that, if you don't have a combo going, push circle to fire off a quick shot that doesn't interrupt stamina regain. Pairing these two together will let you refill your coatings, do a bit of damage, and regenerate a lot of stamina in a few seconds. We also have access to Arc Shot to regain our stamina while we're charging the shot. This does leave you immobile but does more damage than a quick shot and is perfect for when the monster is stationary or knocked down. And one of the best ways to regain stamina is with a focus attack, as you'll regain stamina while locking onto targets. Just make sure not to lock onto more than one wound at a time, since you want to utilize your focus attack for stamina when you need it, and can't do so if you pop all the monster wounds at once. I will also mention in this section that two key skills for bow players in regards to stamina management are Constitution and Stamina Surge, which reduce stamina consumption and increase stamina regain speed respectively. I highly recommend maxing them both out for the best experience. Now that we know how to better manage our stamina, let's put it to use while we learn some basic bow combos. I will note before we start that the bow is very fluid and flexible with combos thanks to dash dancing. Feel free to experiment and find combos that fit your playstyle. The first combo is simple, effective, and perfect for beginners. Just spam R2 volleys at the monster from critical range, ideally with power coating to maintain a safe distance. This does decent damage, keeps you at a safe distance, keeps stamina management at a minimum, and allows you to purely focus on learning how to dodge the monster's attacks and familiarize yourself with the bow. As you start getting more comfortable with it, try to add in a bit of dash dancing to maintain that max bow charge level. Our second combo is arguably the best DPS dash dance combo for bow, the Power Shot Dash Dance. Reach max bow charge by firing off 3 shots with R2 or just charging a shot. Dodge to keep that max charge, then fire another shot with R2 and quickly push circle to fire a follow-up power shot. Dodge again to keep your max charge level and repeat until you're low on stamina. An important note about this combo is that you slightly animation cancel the first power shot by first firing a normal volley. If you simply dashed and then push circle, it'd take about the same amount of time, but you lose out on 3 arrows of damage from the R2 volley. Also, don't push circle too fast or you might not fire the R2 volley. Ideally, you'll be doing this with close or power coating. Our third combo is for the Dragon Piercer lovers out there. Push triangle and circle to fire your first Dragon Piercer, then quickly fire a non-locked focus attack to reset your animation. This allows you to quickly fire another Dragon Piercer and is repeatable until you've run out of stamina. And finally, as a thanks for watching the video, here's some veteran tips for all my bow players out there. Bow can be a very simple safe DPS weapon or a min-max speedrun weapon. It's still an effective weapon either way, so take it at your own pace and ramp it up based on your comfort levels. Don't worry too much about stamina management at first and just focus on getting familiar with the weapon and playstyle. Simply stopping to regain stamina when you're starting off is more than enough. Once you start getting more familiar with the bow, you can start weaving in the stamina management methods I mentioned earlier. Some great skills for the bow in no particular order are Stamina Surge, Constitution, Adrenaline, Evade Window, Evade Extender, Spread Shot, Piercing Shot, Tetrad Shot, Special Ammo Boost, and the various coating decorations. If you guys found the video helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any bow questions, and if there's any veterans here for some reason, let me know if I missed something important that beginners should know, or throw your own tips in the comments to help out a fellow hunter. Good luck and happy hunting!